Namaste. Welcome to Satsang today. So Satsang is a place to come to recognize what we really are, and to come to live as that. And it is a conscious event where it isn't like I'm sat here teaching something. It's really a conscious participation of all the beings involved in this satsang, even those that will watch it in the future. It's an alive thing that is different every time, and that's half of the wonder of it. And everyone's participation, whether we speak or not, is valuable in terms of the energy, and the whole thing comes together into something wonderful, doesn't it? So thank you for being here with me today. I want to start this satsang with a question that has been emailed in, because it is a wonderful springboard, this question, to really begin to explain something that might help, and why it is beneficial to move beyond experiencing our assumptions about ourselves and life, and to directly experience what we actually are, what everything actually is, which is the one self that is everywhere, in all places, at all times. This question is a very short one, which always is great for me. It simply says, hello, what does it mean by I would experience what I think I know as a concept, and the opposite of it? Please clarify it. So what does it mean I would experience what I think I know as a concept, and the opposite of it? Please clarify it. So if everything is, even if we only know this theoretically, intellectually, we can still follow along with what I'm going to say, and really begin to take that understanding deeper inside. So if everything really is not a thing, if what I am, what you are, what everything is this great, invisible, intangible, formless self, that there is only the one self appearing as all these human bodies, all of these forms, and that everything really isn't so solid as it seems, although it will still always seem to be. And everything is made of this intangible, formless reality, and in manifestation it vibrates, therefore it begins to appear a certain way. It'll have a shape and a color and a duration and all of that. If everything is made of this formlessness, then what is it that makes me experience what I experience? And what is that process about? So if you're shapeless and formless by your very nature, you're infinite and everywhere, all pervading all the time, can never be absent from anywhere at any moment. That is the reality of your being. And we have come to believe ourselves to be just the body only, or a being living in a body but still separate to everything else. Then we're going to experience in a very powerful way what we believe to be true. So concepts that we hold on to are very literally shaping our experience. Just as if you took some cookie dough and you had 3 different shapes of cutter, one was a circle, one was a square, one was a triangle, you're not going to get a triangle from the circle cutter, are you? You're going to end up with a circular cookie. No, I want a cookie. So our thoughts are shaping the manifestation process in that way. And we may know this, of course, on a level, but it really helped me to begin to understand how that was occurring. The manifestation isn't just a physical thing, that it exists on a subtle level too. That first of all, what shapes the shapelessness of our being is a thought, and even the fact that we have a human body that we're using to attend the satsang is coming from this concept of a body, that I have a body, that there is a body, that this is a human body. And the more we believe in a concept of something, the more it shapes and slows down this very high frequency manifestation into something that becomes a slower vibration, not worse or bad, just slower, and it becomes perceptible to our physical senses, to our visible to our eyes, audible like these words are to our ears. So what we know to be true is going to then we're going to take the shape very literally of that concept. So if I feel, for example, I'm not safe, I'm in danger, or I'm unworthy of awakening, or life isn't fair, then that is the shape, that is the cookie cutter shape right there. And that is the shape with which we're forming our experience. And our life has to take the shape of that concept, just as our life has to take the shape of any concept that we experience. Without any concepts at all, then if I let my shapelessness, my invisible, intangible nature, come into shape without any concepts in my human brain being believed, it doesn't mean thoughts stop. It just means I'm willing to question if I have to keep making these same shapes by using these same cutters. Then what naturally happens is manifestation takes the highest frequency shape that's possible in any particular moment, and that is always increasing. This is where a miracle happens. What we call a miracle is when the shapeless, formless self becomes a shape and a form, and there are no human concepts in the way of that process. So what spontaneously happens is the highest thing that's possible to the highest possible shape and frequency is what spontaneously occurs. And so if I believe, going back to our example, that I am not worthy of waking up or not worthy of happiness and all good things, I have to keep experiencing my life that way. It literally takes the shape, because all the other beings in my life are not really other. They are me also. So they have to take that shape too. It is the one being appearing everywhere all the time with these concepts that is shaping its human experience in. And you could say, in a very general way, that there's only one shape that we take, and that is of a separate being. A separate being. And with that comes certain experiences as a guaranteed: fear, limitation, lack. There's also a lot of positives, of course, about being a separate being. But by the time we find ourselves in a satsang like this, the idea taking the shape of a separate being alone in the universe with a finite existence has become far too painful to continue to hold on to. And we're exploring our shapelessness more and more and enjoying the shapelessness without the concepts in the way, the beliefs. There's nothing to shape the dough. It naturally takes its highest form possible, its most expansive form possible. And our life begins to reflect back to us more and more experiences, beings, events, happenings that reflect back to us our inner joy and peace that comes from recognizing our shapelessness. And just going back to the cookie dough analogy, if I take a circle and stamp the circle and get a circular cookie and take that away, everything that's left with the circle hole in it, it still remains. And this is why if I choose to experience, unconsciously of course, that I'm not good enough, my experience while I hold that shape will be that people and everything in my life agree with me that I'm not worthy of success or happiness or enlightenment or whatever I'm trying to get, or even just peace. And all experiences come and go. They cannot be continuous. So when that experience of being unworthy stops, the opposite, what's left of that door, will have to be experienced. So I'll periodically experience being good enough, being worthy, certain things agreeing with me, momentary fragments of peace or happiness, all of that. And then it will have to revert back to the shape that I'm unconsciously insisting that the reality takes. So we are kind of the creator of our experiences and the created at the same time. We are the unmanifest and the manifest. This is not something to blame ourselves for. I did at first. Oh my goodness, I'm creating all these problems and I have to fix them, says the separate being. And I did that for a while and it wasn't so much fun. So you might want to skip over that part. But I, as the infinite being, has enjoyed for a while playing with shapes, and now taking shapes only is too small for us, isn't it? We want to go back into our no shape or our formlessness, our lack of form. And then everything that we experience in our life begins to take the natural highest shape possible, which is why problems seem to disappear, solutions seem to arise in that awakened state, condition, quite effortlessly, because naturally, when I stop forcing reality through a particular thought form, a concept, just as if I have a bright light behind me and I hold up my hand, the shadow on the wall over there has to take the shape of the light has been forced through. There's no other way. It's happening right now, isn't it? The light coming in through my window is causing a shadow where this Buddha statue is, taking the shape of the Buddha. It has to. There's no other way. And the light of your being has to take the shape of whatever concepts we're holding on to. And the reason we hold on to concepts, why would we then hold on to this idea that we're unworthy? If it keeps causing us pain, why would we hold on to this idea that I'm not safe if it causes us great fear? And it is because we haven't realized that this is what's occurring, that these assumptions, these shapes that we're making, these ideas that we keep experiencing as our life is taking the shape of our assumptions. Our life is a living experience of what we're still believing inside, because we are referencing what we're seeing out there as evidence to keep believing what we believe in here. This is causality. I'm talking about cause and effect. So I keep picking up the circular I'm not good enough cutter because my experience keeps reflecting this belief back to me. Because it keeps reflecting back to me that I'm not good enough, I keep allowing myself to agree inside. Yes, see, I am not good enough here. My life is giving me all of this evidence to agree with it. And our egoic sense of self is stuck in that trap, projecting, seeing its beliefs, experience as a reflection as our life, because there really aren't any other beings. There is just the one being everywhere, experiencing its karmic patterns, reflecting back to each other over and over. And when we begin to see that if I keep referencing my life, my experience, my current experience, to help me decide what to believe is true about myself, it will never end. Never end at all. Because what I'm experiencing as my life is showing me, reflecting back to me, There is no separate reality out there, because in reality we are everywhere all the time. There is only the one being. Then we begin to let go of these shapes, these concepts so tightly. We begin to see, I'm experiencing it because I'm believing it. And I'm so powerful as the infinite self, the power that creates and sustains the universe. Any idea that I hold on to will be immediately experienced in my life, as my life, actually. And this is really why you have this human form, so that you can look at your life and experience and see what it is showing you that you are still holding on to, what concepts are being believed still. And when we see that, we can step out of those. Well, is that true? Has it ever been true that I'm not good enough, or not awake enough, or not safe enough, or that I can't get what I want? Is that really ever been true? Or have I just been experiencing that assumption, taking that shape of that concept over and over and over? And I've come into this human existence. My human body is a condensation of these beliefs. That it is a shape that I've come into. I've come with these concepts and these ideas that I am allowing to shape my life, my existence. And when we can see that everything that we have thought is outside of us, separate to us, all these other beings I keep experiencing that keep treating me this certain way are reflecting back to me what I feel inside, because they're not really out there. They're not really separate to me. And then we're finally free to begin to challenge these assumptions, recognizing that if we keep allowing our experience to dictate what we're going to hold on to, what shapes we're going to make, then it goes around and around. It will never end that way. There is no cause outside of ourselves for how we think and feel. As we come to see, there is nothing outside of me. There is nothing out there causing me to feel this way, affect in here. That those out there and in here are the same one, that it's me everywhere reflecting back. This is very different to how we're taught to think as human beings. It may take a little while to fully grasp this, but or the other way we do it, we say, okay, I'm the cause here, and when I wake up enough here, then out there will reflect that back to me. We're still believing in two there. We're still saying, when I change in here, out there is going to change too. But instead, we can see that we're everywhere all the time, even intellectually. And in fact, coming to understand this takes a massive, is 99% of the work to embody this awakening, actually. That as I refuse to take any shape more and more, I prefer to be shapeless, then I haven't changed anything out there. It's just going to naturally revert back to its spontaneous manifestation. When I stop forcing it into experiences that agree with and verify my unworthiness in the example that we're using, it will naturally take the shape of experiences and beings coming to me that agree with my peace and my joy and my self-respect and all of that. So whatever concept I'm holding on to, I have to keep experiencing. I have to keep going around and around until I see that I'm actually, in fact, everywhere, and there are no other beings outside of me. So again, this is a very different way to see reality than we're taught to as a human being. So it may feel that there's some confusion or resistance around it, just as there was for me when I first began to understand that I had been allowing my experiences to dictate to me what I was going to keep holding on to, what shapes I was going to keep experiencing, that I was stuck in this loop going around and around. And as I naturally inside question these assumptions, I revert back to my shapelessness. Just to listen to this again and again and to see it playing out in your own life, you'll begin to come out of it. And you come out of duality, then you stop experiencing that thing and its opposite. And you revert back to a natural, effortless, higher manifestation that is not something that we're trying to make happen, that we have to make happen. It's just something that happens naturally. So I have another question here, but I'll see how many hands go up. If anybody would like to ask a question or to share your experience or your breakthroughs or your challenges, I'd invite you to raise your hand now. We'll see how many we've got, and we may read this last question or not. Lovely. Ron, whenever you're ready.
I'm in my car waiting for a COVID vaccine, so I kind of apologize for the t-shirt.
Absolutely okay.
Beautiful teaching.
Thank you.
Just I see how the formless goes into form now, from what you said, and I guess my two questions. One's maybe an observation, and the other is more of a question. It's an observation with a question. It seems from what you're saying that the thing that can be the most helpful to us, at least for myself, is to absolutely know that I'm perfect.
Yeah, that the whole reason for believing otherwise is because we've kept experiencing it, isn't it? You know, we've kept experiencing being a separate being needing to wake up. And if you really sort of grasp that that will go on forever, unless I begin to really want to see what I have always been, what I already am, the wholeness and the perfection of that. That if I believe in time and progress and that I've got to wake up, I'm going to keep experiencing that very literally. And the only thing that remains then is you're not ignoring your experience, but you're not going to reference it to help decide what to agree with inside.
Well, it's kind of that perfect imperfection. So, no wants. So let's shift over to kind of desires or preferences. I guess that's kind of maybe a two-edged sword, depending if my preferences or if there's any desires will then form the shapelessness according to that vibration. If I had none, zero, then the unfolding may have more or higher choices. I guess I'm still a little stuck as it relates to preferences and desires as relates to this. Does that just kind of go out the window? And
you might find that desires come back very, very strongly because these beliefs are going that have limited the manifestation, that have forced it to take a lower shape. Sometimes desires come back very strongly in preference. There was certainly an upsurge of desire when I really began to get this, that I can experience what I want to experience. And sometimes a very strong preference but with the caveat that if it doesn't seem to be what's happening, what you desire doesn't seem to be what's happening, it must be something even better that's in the process of becoming. That you don't mind so much if you don't get what you want, because that would be anything that we can desire. It is a kind of very high manifestation, but there is something even better than that if we don't force it through the desire. So it's okay to have a desire. I'd really like to travel this year. I haven't done a lot of traveling, I'd like to go to this place and this place, and I'd like more money to do that. But just a very loose holding of that, because that's a very loose sculpting of something, and whatever arises out of that is going to surprise and delight you. Rather than the rigid, it must be like this, it must be this way, I want this particular thing. The ideas themselves are not an issue, the desire, the thought form, but it's how tightly we're holding that. So it can have a preference or a desire, and just hold it very, very loosely. That's what happens now. It'd be nice if this thing happened, just a gentle thought like that sometimes is all it is. And then something shows up that is even better than that, and I'm not holding on to it tightly. And it's kind of half of the fun of recognizing this process, isn't it? That you can enjoy those desires finally.
Okay, thank you.
Very, very good. Thanks. Good to talk to you. Vidya?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Yeah, just sort of an update on last week. There was quite a few shifts in seeing or recognizing myself that was very different. No ground to stand on. It was just very, I can't describe it. And then I was watching something, and there was this immense sobbing, and then this immense joy. Sobbing just stopped, immense joy just where I was just grinning from ear to ear for hours, and so wonderful. And then after that, I got a thing with my eye, and about a day and a half later, I thought, I wonder what this means. So I did a bit of a Louise Hayes, and I thought, angry at someone. I don't know, who would I be angry at? And then all of a sudden, some things started showing me something. Yeah, I just started seeing things in my appearance, and it got worse and worse, and coming thicker, and there was a quick identification with it. At the same time, I was not seeing that this is all me. This is because I'm not feeling good enough, or I'm still not worthy enough, or and I realized I hadn't actually allowed myself to feel emotions at a deeper level.
Yeah.
I always thought I had actually, but something took me into this anger, and I was watching it and thought, anger, and it just let everything come, what I was angry at, it just bombarded. And it was still okay. There was a slight peace underneath it, but I just allowed this anger. And then I really just contemplated, and then after I was listening to some retreat recordings today and watching this, what you were saying on there, and so I was going from the body, the space, the objects, and I just couldn't get a difference. All of a sudden, it's like the body, the space, and looking at the objects, I can't differentiate. It didn't freak me out. I was just speechless. I just don't understand. I was looking at it. Now, this body really isn't a body. It's the same. It's a space. And the leaves outside, and the bird. And all of a sudden, I sort of felt zoomed right out, enjoying as if this was all my manifestation, how beautiful it was. But I still...
All for you, isn't it? It's all for you. All of this is for you.
It actually felt like that, and I just didn't understand, but I thought, obviously, I had been asking to see clearer and deeper as well, thinking, oh, this eye, what am I not seeing? What am I not seeing? But then, yeah, it seemed to relate to the anger, because within a day, it just started really clearing up once the anger came and everything. And
We have lots of
not feeling
ideas about emotions, don't we? And if I feel on some level that it's unsafe to be angry, maybe I've been told before that it's not acceptable to be angry around people, or I've got some idea somewhere that it's not a good idea, then of course I'm not going to want to see anger when it's there. You know, I'm not going to want to express it or feel it at all. The very moment you want it, you want to allow it. You're sort of saying, I want to see it, and you are the seeing. So, you know, it has a very literal physical impact when you don't want to see something, as you noticed with your, you know, the body is a metaphor, isn't it, for our beingness. And whatever I don't want to see, I'm going to experience some diminishment of well-being, because I am the seeing personified. So just getting back in touch with an emotion is a very simple thing, but it's not something we inherently are taught, is it?
Yeah, it took me sort of looking at the anger, and then I remember you saying in a Satsang before, if maybe fear was walking around, what would it look like? And I couldn't imagine. I didn't know. And then I thought, well, what would abandonment look like? What does rejection look like? And then I just started really sobbing, and then I felt the fear underneath that. I was so surprised. I thought, what are you still doing here? You know, but yeah, I was interested in it and felt it, but it didn't feel anything scary, but yet it did have a vibration. Actually, no, that's not true, because I think at one point I did experience the fear and and images and things like that. But yeah, I just can't understand the contrast of all that coming, and then I suppose recognizing the body and the space and the objects were just, it's all like just part of me made out of the same thing.
If I believe in the labels body, anger, you know, if I really believe in those words, I'll really experience them that way. But if I'm kind of in a more open stance and I'm not really sure what this thing is, then I'm not going to experience the concept so much of anger or body. I'm going to experience the thing in its, how it really is, you know, that it's really just an energy frequency in its most basic, and then it's just the self, isn't it? Is that formless thing, looking like, feeling like anger or something. And there's no reason to be scared of it then, is there?
No, because at the same time, when I was looking at the wall at the picture, it seemed to be like moving in waves. And then I was looking at the space in the room, and it had sort of a movement. And I was saying, well, this is you. This is, you know, this is also you. But I just didn't know. I don't want to. So with all those emotions in allowing it, is just to you know, like you say, to love it, and so it can come back and be loved. So it's just feeling it or acknowledging it. I'm not sure if I know the difference. I mean, I know to acknowledge something, but to really feel means, because if I go into a feeling, sometimes I go into more of a meditative state, so I don't know if that's an escape, and then I don't feel anything anyway except the beautiful essence of my being.
It's really anything that keeps coming back, such as anger, is where we're still experiencing the concept of it rather than the actuality of it. Because after you realize you're not a thing, it's kind of the next step to begin to realize that everything else isn't a thing either, including the subtle objects that we've really believed in, like fear, anger, obviously more tangible objects like other beings that, you know, we really believe that my body is real and everybody else's body is real in the same way. And whatever's in front of us in our experience, if it keeps coming back, it must be because we are still not fully experiencing it as it is, rather than we might be experiencing what we think of it more, especially about emotions. You know, anger is almost, in a way, very, very taboo in society, isn't it?
Mm.
You know, it's almost
Oh,
more
yeah.
acceptable to feel scared than angry.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah,
can be a very taboo emotion.
yeah. It was sort of like, you're all right, you're all right, you know. You'll be all right, just be quiet, you know. So yeah, probably never really allowed myself to feel. But so since then I had been questioning a lot. Is it really true? I'm angry. Is it really true? I'm not good enough. Is it really true? You know, fill in the blanks. And that's when today, yeah, there was that experience of a different, yeah, way of seeing. So maybe that came about because of the questioning and not believing in those emotions.
You
I
can experience anything then, and it feels the same. It's felt in the same piece. It's experienced with the same piece, because it just wants to. It doesn't want you to hold it in a shape anymore. You know, it's coming back. It wants to be shapeless too, conceptless. You know, it wants to. What's it like to feel anger without any ideas about it, in this example, or to experience another being without any ideas about them? Everything will want in on the party, so to speak. You know, they'll say, "What about me too?"
Yeah, so you don't have to label it at all, or know what it is. You just have to go, oh, there's this feeling, and
You could use it, you know, I'm feeling angry, but there's also this much more visceral experience. What actually is this? It's a set of sensations that move through the body, a set of frequencies. When I actually allow it to exist in its fullness, it's not something unpleasant. When I really allow it, it might be a lower frequency, but that's not the same as. It may take longer to flow through the body than something like bliss, but it's not the same as it being a bad thing, is it? You really get clear on that. It gets a lot easier.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. Wonderful. Okay, Steve, when you're ready.
Hi, Helen, can you hear me?
I can, yep.
Hi, hello. I was talking to someone yesterday before, and we were talking, and I don't know what was said, but like, this isn't working, I was saying something like that. And she said, who is it inside you that's saying this isn't working? What is that? You know what I mean? And I thought, well, like an epiphany, so, oh, right.
You manifested this outer voice to remind you, yeah.
I didn't think of it that way, but she was trying to say that. But fair enough, I was taking it on board. So, it's changed a bit from yesterday, but I can only write, if this is a paragraph or two here, I can read that to you, and I'll tell you where I'm at now. Is that all right?
Yeah.
If there is only the one I, then who is it that believes negative or positive thoughts? I've contemplated this and found what appears to be a separate self. In contemplation, rather than putting my attention on awareness or thought, I focus on this separate self and found it to be something like an entity that is making all the decisions of my life, i.e., what to believe, what not to believe, what's good or bad for me. Should I do this or that? This is the ego that we talk about so much, but I've never seen it as clearly. I've just asked the question, is it true I can have what I want? Answer, don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Apathetic, I put that as bad. Of course, second one is, of course I can. I'm all there is. It's optimistic, that's good. But even here, aren't I going with the best option this separate self can come up with, thereby still relying on the this separate self, really. I was really excited when she said it to me. You know, I feel something. Well, I've been trying to hang on to it ever since. But when I found out it's the separate self, it's the ego, I was a bit disappointed. I thought you already know this. You know, like, back to where I was.
Well, you did know it, but now you know it deeper.
That's more or less what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's always getting deeper, isn't it? Always.
What I thought.
Yeah.
But what it's changed into, I think, is looking inside for this separate self. Where is it? What is it? And not trying to look outside and so say I'm. It's sometimes around people and I hear them speaking and I try to believe or I imagine I'm speaking. It's me speaking through.
Mm-hmm.
Which maybe in reality is true, but I'm trying to conjure up this up in my head.
Yeah.
And now I've sort of started to look. No, the separation, Steve, is in you. That's where it is. And I think that's the epiphany really.
Yeah.
Separation is in here. If you cleared up the separation in here, all that'll fall into place.
Absolutely, which is exactly what I was saying, wasn't it, earlier?
You just said that, so
yeah.
And that's this is how I come through what you said it. So I'm always trying to get brownie points. I sort of want to be right before I say it, you know what I mean?
And this very satsang is what this question was sent in about, and the answer that I read out is the reflection of your realization, isn't it? It's reflecting back to you already. If you can see, you've had some inner clarity, it has to reflect to some outer experience that enhances that clarity, adds to it, you know?
It's out, yeah. But that confusion, I'm looking for mental out, and at the moment I'm sort of.
If it feels important to stay inside, then that's exactly what to honor right now, isn't it?
I think that, yeah, I'm sort of doing that and ability, nothing else. I'm saying you're not staying open now, so I'm getting confused. So just stay with this, yeah, for a bit.
If it feels important, that's happening for a reason, isn't it? That sense there's something really here that I really need to look at. There's something exciting and urgent and important about this to stay with. And that's a very good thing to follow, isn't it, when you get that sense?
Well, the excitement sort of dwindled when I found out it's the ego. And I feel a bit like I'm hanging on here. This is it. You got to look at this thing. You know what I mean? But
you got a lot of clarity on what ego is. You saw that it was a thought-based entity only, that it's not an actual real thing. It's a collection of thoughts only, isn't it? And then the reflecting experiences of those thoughts. You got a lot of clarity on what it actually is, that it's not a real, there is no point in time where you could pick it up and say, this is my egoic sense of self, because it's really only one thought at a time that's being experienced, believed.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I can't do it again so much. It seemed to be really, really, I was going sort of deep. And then all of a sudden this little sort of said, yes or no, you know what I mean? I thought, there you are, you bugger. But then I realised.
A breakthrough. Ego said, and I think I heard you read out, ego said, I don't know if I can get what I want. I don't know. That is the profound wisdom right there. That's a huge breakthrough. Before that point, we may be really convinced that we can't get what we want. But the furthest the ego can go, through no fault of its own, is to say something, I don't actually know. I can see, I've been experiencing all my life, I've been experiencing my beliefs, my concepts, whatever shapes I'm forcing reality to take. Ego can say that, and that's profound wisdom. I don't really know if any of my beliefs are true. The only evidence I keep using to say they're true is the experiences, and around it goes. You know, so it's it may not seem like a big deal that I don't know, and it may even feel like a negative thing. I was going to ask this question and I wanted an answer, and the only answer that came is I don't know, and that's not a satisfying answer. But it's a huge spiritual leap forward. I'm not so sure, actually. Before, I was really convinced I'm unworthy, or I'm unsafe, or I can't get what I want. Now I'm not so sure. That's a huge thing. That gets me excited when someone comes to that conclusion. And I just want to say, have you ever watched the waves, you know, when the tide comes in? There's a couple of, it may seem random, I know, but it really helped me, this analogy. A couple of times the waves push further up at the beach than they've gone before when the tide's coming in. 2 or 3 waves go further up, and then the next one doesn't go up as far. It kind of recedes a little bit. And then the next one goes even further, and on it goes like that. So you're right in the middle of this receding bit where you've had something revealed and it was fun and exciting and wow. And then it doesn't feel so alive right now because it's literally being embodied in the embodiment process. As soon as that has happened, there'll be an even bigger epiphany and insight. Right? There'll be an even bigger wave that comes of seeing. It doesn't feel quite so fresh and alive at the moment because you're literally assimilating what you've seen, haven't you? It's a literal trying to sort of grasp it and get a handle on it and what it means for your life, what you've seen. And that is the very next thing that happens after every epiphany. If you can relax into that, in a couple of days, or maybe even less, you'll have an even bigger insight. You'll see the same thing again, but it'll be even more clear, even more obvious, even more profound. It isn't that you've lost it or something, you know, that feeling might be coming up that I've lost what I've seen, or something's gone wrong, I've, you know, something like that. It's really important because if we feel that we've lost this insight, this epiphany, we might start to blame ourselves. But really, it's because the seeing is already starting to be lived. There's less and less time delay between seeing it and being it, applying it to your life. That's something, you haven't lost it at all. It's literally, in the awakened state, there's a millisecond delay between seeing it and being it. And that's what's starting to happen for you.
Yeah, thanks for that. There's just so much, just as you were talking, it turned something round. When you said, "What can I get? What I want?" I sort of said, "I don't know. Maybe, maybe not." But I put apathetic, bad, right?
And what if it isn't?
And you just told me it's not.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
true.
You've changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, that's. But you just
It's
turned.
it's arrogance of ego that assumes I know with a conviction. I know beyond doubt that I'm not good enough. And it's so set in that way of thinking. Let's just take this as an example of feeling unworthy, of awakening. And as a teacher, it takes me a long time to get a crowbar into that belief and prise it open. That might not be true, actually. That might not. And somebody says, well, I don't know if it's true. And it doesn't feel comforting, but that is a profound thing. It feels unfamiliar to not know because we're so used to knowing. You know, we're so used to, I am so sure that I'm not good enough because my life keeps telling me, but I finally admit I don't really know because all the evidence, in this example for you, that you can't get what you want, all the evidence that you're using to back up that powerful conviction in that belief is a reflection of the belief. You know, so if I stop referencing my experience, I don't really have any ground to keep being so sure of this belief. You know, so it's a profound thing. And just the openness to see, it might feel like a bad thing to mind because mind wants a definitive answer. I want to find out actually once and for all. And you will, but the first step in that is I don't know actually. There's an openness in that, isn't there? There's a openness for something else to come in then.
Oh, I would call it apathetic one, and that's.
And it is to mind. It is to mind, isn't it? To ego, it's apathetic. But to self, it's like, oh, I don't actually really know. If I'm honest, I don't really know. I've been saying I do, but the evidence of that is what's been happening in my experience, which is just a mirror image of this belief. So I don't really know. It's quite shocking. Like my whole life, I've really agreed with this thing. And there's never really been any substantial evidence of it other than my experience, which is reflecting this particular conviction. And you start to see the loop and you go, oh my goodness, I don't know. Finally, you can say, I don't know. And ego's never going to like that. Mind's never going to like that, is it? It's going to be apathetic, but also exciting, right? Also, something gets
excited, yeah.
Yeah, it's new. You can feel it, right? The self is excited with this new perspective, this new opening.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've been going around in a loop for a while, and this was somewhat new, and I thought I must have that saying, I must hang on to it now, and it seemed to drift away. Oh no, it was like a bit like that. So you've explained that a bit better.
I don't know. Actually becomes just so beautiful when you really let it hit you. Really. Like I've been so sure of so many things for so long. Who knows how long these loops have been going on. But when I finally don't know if I'm not good enough or if I'm unsafe or whatever it is, and I actually want to find out rather than experiencing my assumptions, I want to experientially find out if I'm unsafe or unworthy.
Yeah, because ego's in there now. That's that question now. Keep asking that question. It's ego.
It's okay if ego's excited, isn't it? It's okay.
Is that okay? I'm not sure.
It's absolutely okay.
At
least it's excited about something beneficial, isn't it? We celebrated that. There's nothing wrong with ego at all. But it's just finally we can put its focus onto something beneficial and useful. It's been very, very excited for a very long time about these beliefs. Now it's starting to get excited about the possibility that they might not be true, actually. That's a huge thing. That gets me excited.
But sometimes the ego can, I've heard it somewhere else, can disguise itself as a self. You know what I mean? Helping you look.
Don't worry about that. If it feels exciting, there's something there, isn't there? You can feel you're on the right track. You can feel it.
That's what really buzzed me yesterday. It did. Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. And it has an effect upon the body. It allows more life force in. You feel more alive as you're following that excitement. And yeah, wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Thank you. Me too.
Lovely. Okay, Lindy, when you're ready. So we'll take Lindy and Bev and then we'll leave it there for today.
Yes, just a question about being authentic versus being kind. I've let myself be a bit more authentic of recent times. And I'm aware a lot of shadow stuff has really popped out. I mean, but anyway, I'm going to forgive myself for perhaps some inappropriateness. But what happens when there are people in your life, and there's really not much choice about that, at least in the short term, to whom it would be incredibly unkind to be really authentic, as in somebody quite vulnerable with whom that I still experience quite a lot of anger about. I mean, it really wouldn't be appropriate to be angry. I mean, I know the anger bit is, altogether is something that needs to be worked out here.
Yeah.
But in the shorter term, it feels heavier because it is not being let out, I suppose, and I don't feel that I can. So I don't really know if there's anything you can say about that, but
it's something very important that you've raised there. I'm glad you've said it. It's being authentic, at least how I've experienced it, is the less authentic I am, the more likely I am to project that anger onto someone or something, in my experience. And the more authentic I am, the more my body can feel the frequency of that anger, as we were saying with Vidya, and the less able I am to project it onto someone. So mine says, I am angry at this being because of this situation, and there's the cause and effect. This person out there is making me feel this way in here. In reality, I'm just angry because I have this belief in limitation as a separate being, because I've experienced it many times, I keep holding on to it. So if we can come to recognize some part of me is just angry. It's like I came into this lifetime scared and angry, and I had to kind of accept in a way that there was no external cause for that, that what was going on with this other being is a reflection of this anger. So I really began to understand that. My experience with beings began to really change, and the authenticity for me was not suppressing anger, also not projecting it, just really letting it exist. And then as I let it exist and question the belief behind it, it doesn't get projected out. Projecting it onto someone is not anyone's fault. It's all we've been taught to do. And I love what you said, that you're going to forgive yourself for that. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. None of us know a better way until we've seen it, so. But as I realize the cause is in here, really, this belief that the anger is showing me, then I can question that. And now it's actually possible to feel incredibly angry without projecting it at all. And that's the authenticity for me, and its fullness, just feeling what you feel inside. Can you get a sense of it?
Yes, I can. And I think I'm getting better at letting myself feel that now.
Good.
But in the moment with somebody else who doesn't really know any better, who just pushes boundaries.
Yeah.
And however many times you said, please don't do that, and just for whatever reason that still happens, and they can't really help that. It is just so difficult sometimes to not really let the whole of the anger out when you're sort of letting a bit out, saying don't do that. Yeah. And I know saying don't do that doesn't need to be angry, but at the moment it has anger behind it for me.
Yeah. And it's not all or nothing, is it? For a while you'll be projecting some, and you'll be allowing more of it, feeling it more, and it'll be a shift over, especially with a strong emotion. For me, anger was a very difficult one to learn to be authentic with, much more so than fear, because it was it felt very unsafe for me to be angry, and there was really no reason why. I just kind of really learned to distrust anger, as I think a lot of us have, that it's not an acceptable emotion or something. And yes, if it's only projected onto someone, it can be harmful, but you're going to be in this switchover process. You're becoming more and more aware of where you're doing that, and that you don't have to do that more. And beautifully, you can forgive yourself if you do. You're doing the best you can in any moment. All of us are, aren't we? So if I end up accidentally projecting it, it's fine. I know that it's increasing my desire to next time to be even more authentic with it. And it's not this all or nothing. Mine says, I'm either projecting it or I'm not. I'm feeling it. And it's not really like there's a gradual process of that, isn't there? Especially where this pattern's been going on between you and this other being for a while. We've got very set ways of being with each other, which is very habitual.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a bit like with Steve. I think thank you for that. I think I sort of know this, but it was good to, because I'm fairly new to you, to sort of hear it, and hopefully this will go a bit deeper and help me.
It can always go deeper. Even for me, it's always going deeper, clearer and clearer and clearer. And that happens also by the living of it, doesn't it? As you apply it, you understand it more, and it goes deeper, and you can apply it a bit more, and that process is never ending, and it becomes easier and faster and much more fun as you go through that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Okay, Bev, when you're ready. Hi.
Hi. I have a question about just the inquiry and contemplation. Is there really, I guess, a right question to ask? Sometimes as I'm doing it, I feel like there's some big questions that need to be asked. Like one of them is, is it true that I can't get what I want?
Can I just stop you there for a second, Bev? Sophie, you keep on muting yourself. Could you either make sure you're muted or whatever device you're on, maybe? Thank you. Sorry, Bev. Please continue.
It's okay. Is it true that I can't get what I want? Is it true that, I'm a limited being, or I'm limited? And the reason why I was laughing when I came on is the other one is it true that I have to manage other people's happiness or my children's happiness or manage the harmony in my life? And then my daughter came up the stairs crying about something while I was trying to answer the question. So I'm like,
very literal manifest. Yes, you do have to. Yeah, yes, you do. Yeah.
So it's kind of sometimes I feel like, oh, where do I start? Because sometimes those questions feel big and important. Anyway, not sure how to approach it, or if it matters which one, or if it's all the same, or
if you can see that you're generally coming to see. Sometimes there's. I'll start that one again. Sometimes there is a specific question that seems really important that we're talking about with Steve, but gradually what's occurring is you're seeing and you're seeing it clearer that it's really the questioning that's more important than anything, isn't it? That while I'm questioning, or while I'm open, I won't be experiencing these assumptions. I won't be taking the shape of these concepts. And you had a very literal experience as your daughter came up, how quick that manifestation can be, how real time, that you take that shape as the infinite self, and that there isn't really another being called daughter. It was very obvious in that moment, although there seems to be, of course. So as it deepens this, or at least in my experience, there was more of a letting go of a specific question per se, and more of a open stance of a question that just sort of became more habitual, that I don't want to take any shape. Actually, I like just I don't need to manage the reflection, as you're saying. I can just, which is a big belief as a parent for all of us. I'm responsible for these beings. That happens naturally anyway in that openness, doesn't it, of the question. We become even more effective parents, even more able to be there, all of that. And every now and again, your question may become specific if a certain emotion comes up or some experience happens. But for me, there was this period where no particular question grabbed me. It was just kind of, there was an awe and a wonder that was developing to really experience things as they actually are more and more. This kind of general openness. Can you feel that sort of growing inside?
Yes. That it's bigger than the question almost.
Yeah, that I'm either, in any moment, I'm either experiencing my assumptions about myself and taking that shape in myself being everywhere, or I'm experiencing directly myself. And there's no middle ground between that. That becomes clearer, doesn't it, as we're getting deeper into it.
Yes.
You might find more and more there's an intense period at first, isn't there, of questioning the assumptions, the shapes that are favorite shapes, the shape of fear, the shape of unworthiness, all of that. But as you've done a lot of that intensity of questioning to really sort of break through the habits, there's a more effortless sort of openness that begins to emerge. There isn't any particular question, it's just more of an openness. And that becomes your sort of habitual experience then, not really knowing anything at all in any moment.
Yeah, it feels more like an openness or curiosity.
Curiosity is always a good sign when that starts to develop, and a little excitement, as we were saying with Steve. There was a sense of wonder that just began to develop, and a awe, this feeling of just I don't really know what any of this is when I don't force it into a shape, and I'm looking forward to finding out more and more.
Right.
And every now and again, if you pick up an assumption, you might form a specific question just for a little while. But it's not so much hard work, is it? It's just more happening by itself and going on more effortlessly.
Right. I almost feel like the question kind of presents itself if it needs to be asked. And then
Absolutely. Yeah.
if I
Absolutely.
can't really grab the question, then maybe it's almost like maybe I need to let it go and just continue to be open.
Yeah. Because if you watch a bird taking off, it's got to run, and then it flaps its wings really, really hard to get off the ground and up into the air. And you've kind of done that bit, and you're just at the occasional flapping stage now to stay up in the air. And then eventually it's just every once in a while there's a question just to stay up in that altitude type of thing. And your experience may pop up something and you go, oh, I need to, there's just some assumption there revealed, and it's taken into your inquiry, your contemplation, and the experience turns around then. But that becomes a fun process rather than this heavy flapping that had to go on at first, to really all these beliefs that have been weighing us down.
Right. Right.
Very good. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, so it's a good place to leave it for today. And lovely. Thank you very much for joining me today. Namaste.